Okay, so now we're on the resurrection of the united eternal body. Okay, so this picture has a lot. This picture has a lot to it, or a lot in it, especially symbolism. And a lot of this symbolism that we begin to see in this picture is going to take us to the Old Testament. Actually, all the previous symbology too, but like almost everything appears in this one. Okay, and this picture is also somewhat so complicated that the entire conclusion may be unclear. So the picture has a united body, and it combines the king and queen into one, and it is now alive. It's not dead in that concrete slab or whatever it was, that tomb, but it's alive and erect. It's living. And it's standing on the moon, and it's above the earth. In the right hand is a goblet that contains like 3 serpents, or it could be one serpent with 3 heads, and each head is crowned. In the left hand, and it's wrapped around the left arm, is the 4th serpent, and it too has a crown. Okay, and out of the earth to the left side is a picture of a growing tree, which is like a sun and moon tree, and on the other side is a single bird. Okay, so this picture represents the cosmic union, because of the fruit of the tree is the sun and the moon. The idea is that the whole cosmos is a single organic process. The sun and moon represent heaven and earth, with the moon being the first gateway to the ego. The serpents, its meaning, especially with the serpents represent, also the beginning of individuation, but it having a crown means that it completed the individuation process. But let's look at the numbers again. We got 3 serpents on one side and then 1 on the other, so we got a total of 4 serpents, but we got that 3-4 thing that I was talking about before. And to me, this kind of represents like creation in a way. The ancient Egyptians, I was thinking in a way that the pyramid represents the earth, but it's also in a circle, which represents the cosmos. And the pyramid, if you just think about a triangle, it's 3-sided. But 4 has always meant like completion. So, it could be a square, but a circle would also do, because a circle is complete. So, to me, it kind of goes into that meaning, and also what I talked about before with the whole 3-4, like Yahweh, HYWH, where you got 3 letters, a total of 3 letters, but it uses 4 letters because it repeats one twice. Or in Latin, when Jesus is on the cross, it was I-N-R-I. And so you got, once again, the I repeating twice, and then you got the N and the R. You got the 3 of the 4. And this also makes sense, like if you go back to the very, very first sentence of Genesis. And the very first sentence of Genesis has 4 nouns. In the beginning, heavens, earth, and God, Elohim. So when you talk about 4, you're talking about completing something. And I think what it's also pertaining to is the 4th is like the final essence of the 3rd. And then the same thing happens with the elements, which makes a lot more sense if you look at it that way too. except it would be 4 of 5. Um, so, the crown of the serpent means the reptilian psyche has transformed a living connection with the consciousness. And this whole picture, the entire thing, is an expression of the product of an ego that has experienced the process of individuation. If one of the lives, if our lives represent or live in the fashion represented by the series of the 10 pictures, if you would create a product at the end. The self gives birth to the ego, like the sun gives birth to the planets, and in that it's just that when a sun supernovas, it creates all the other elements that end up creating planets and everything that you see, even us. And then and then when it all breaks down to it, there's a lot of interesting meaning to this. To me, it's a guide, just not to only be a better person, but you can look at any situation in your life, outside of your life, in atoms, and anywhere, and you can see these pictures being worked, and you can see where the energy is and where it's going and where it has been. And if you know this, then you can learn how to put energy in certain situations to cause certain outcomes to happen. Another thing that I'm also starting to believe is this also relates to the pyramids. Because and this was something that dawned on me probably about not too long ago, maybe a month or two ago, when I was thinking about things, and I ran across some information that I guess sparked something in my mind. But I don't believe that the Egyptians built the Giza and the Sphinx. I believe that was created maybe 10,000 or 12,000 years ago, maybe even 36,000 years ago. But the whole process of it all, of these pictures, shows or represents how to create an alternative form of energy, probably more specifically a Merkaba. And it can be a very great source of energy, but it can also cause a very, very heavy price and devastation if not properly set up. And this is something I'm going to be detailing more in my novel, but it also relates to a new science that I am starting to understand. You got the science that you're taught in school, and then there's a different science, the 5 elements of science: the earth, air, fire, and water, that create the ether, or the spirit, or the soul. And these pictures really, really heavily show that, especially with the opposites connecting and creating each other from them. And after what I studied, I can actually see how the pyramids were actually used to create a certain type of energy. And if you think about it, where all the pyramids are around the world, that could have been basically the same thing as like an energy grid that connected everything. And like I said, this is a topic I'll explore more into my novel that I'm writing, but it's not going to be in the first 3 or 6 books, probably not. Well, maybe. It might hintily be introduced in the next series of books. I haven't quite decided on that yet. But so, and this is, to me, it's an amazing discovery, and maybe not necessarily a discovery because we knew it in the past, but the earth, air, fire, and water combine to create the spirit, the Merkaba, or any form of higher energy, depending on how it's used. And that, to me, is a new science that I think we will be partaking in probably within the next 10 or 20 years. Because the science that we're going to, we're seeing a lot of things that just don't make sense, and the main reason probably why it doesn't make sense is because we've omitted from our minds anything that has to do with the elements that the ancients taught about. And I think if we were to include the science that the ancients used, the science of present day would make a lot more sense and probably accelerate. So I'm going to kind of leave that there. But that's kind of how this is used, is you can use it to help bring about achievement in your life, seeing where everything's at and learning where the energy needs to be focused in order to make that push to transform in certain ways. Anyways, that's what I've been doing, and I've been accomplishing a lot. Everybody has their own way, and I'm not saying that this is the end to oh man, you must do this. No, you just investigate this and see how you can use it. But I have my theory of what I use it for, and what I'm using it for works. But this was a very, very interesting process. Hold on. There we go. My next book is not that one. That'll be after. Yeah, here it is. So, afterwards, I'm going to be diving into this one. It is The Bible and the Psyche, Individuation, Symbolism in the Old Testament. And so, there's a look at it if you want to know what it is. And because we had already finished this one, or at least me kind of summarizing, explaining it. Great book. If I was you, I would get it. And then after the old one, we're going to dig into this one, the Christian archetype. And this kind of goes a little bit into how the story of Jesus kind of fits into everything. So, and it does not end there, trust me. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end this. You guys have a wonderful one. I hope more people subscribe and like to this. And hopefully get more of a conversation going. So, I hope you all have a positive day. And more to it until I guess you see me again. Alright, peace. Bye.